You want to talk about hypocrisy for a moment? We do a great job preaching agility, and even moaning about the lack of mindset change around us, but are we personally, individually, agile in ceremony only or agile in life? That's this week on the Badass Agile podcast. Greetings, team. Welcome to the Badass Agile podcast. I'm your host, Chris Williams. Welcome back, everybody. So happy to see you. This week, I'd love to talk about one of the true blockers of team agility is your personal agility. Now, this applies to you as a leader. This applies to you as a team member. This can apply to you if you're on the business side or the tech side. It doesn't matter. It has to do with your agile mind. But what does that mean? Because it's important. And with 15 plus years in, I've had the good fortune to witness some patterns, things that repeat, that tend to cause trouble. And if we learn to iron them out, I think I can shortcut you to success. But first, let's take a moment to remember why we're here. To create an elite tribe of leaders who truly serve their clients and communities by doing what matters and what works, relentlessly chasing value and excellence like a badass. There's so many resources out there about what you need to do to be agile, but we're focused on who you need to become in order to lead teams. So let's hammer down those fundamentals to create a truly unique and powerful force in this industry. Now do us a favor, if you would, share this with your friends. Post it on your social, on your LinkedIn, on your Instagram, on your Facebook, and help us get the word out. All right, let's talk. What do I mean by agile mind? Here's what I've witnessed in the industry. We do a really good job of blaming our business partners, people outside the team, or even people inside the team for not having the right agile mindset. What's that mean? It means they're not willing to change. It means they're not willing to try. It means they're not willing to let go of the way they've always done things. It means they want to overplan or overthink or overdocument. We observe that behavior in others, especially in those on whom we depend for our agile success, and we make a judgment. We say those folks are standing in our way. And yet, how often do we also exhibit the very same behaviors? See, we go easy on ourselves because we call ourselves agile, because we're willing to let go of a business requirements document, because we're willing to burn up our Gantt charts. We consider ourselves of agile mind. We think we are agile people. Truth is, we might not be. Let me run you down the practices that I teach in the Forge and the Forge Professional and in my private coaching. And trust me, these are not things you can flip a switch on overnight. You're going to have to work on these over time, consistently. But these are the components of an agile mind. Number one, it is flexible in that it doesn't get stuck on things. It doesn't get stuck on thoughts. It doesn't get stuck on the meaning that we make of our surroundings. Here's what that means. We don't dwell on challenges. We don't dwell on discomfort. We don't dwell on future outcomes. We don't dwell on the past either. We don't dwell on bad fortune. We don't dwell on challenging people. We simply don't let our minds get stuck. The mind must be free. It must be free to do, to persist, to continue to work in the face of challenge, to never say this can't be done, to never say this is too hard. And it's not just about saying it outwardly, it's about believing it, because you can tell your friends that you're fearless. But inside, if your fear stops you from submitting an idea, from taking a leap, from proceeding in the face of uncertainty, your mind isn't free yet. It also doesn't get stuck on concepts. For example, it's equally bad to learn the Agile rules and regulations, to read the Scrum Guide and get fixated on what it says, to believe that this way is the right way or the only way. A free mind, an agile mind, doesn't get stuck on notions of right or wrong either. In fact, the second quality of an agile mind is that it doesn't judge at all. It doesn't see circumstances as good or bad. It doesn't see ideas as right ideas or wrong ideas. It doesn't see practices as right practice or wrong practice either. For that matter, it doesn't judge other people as unenlightened. Instead, the Agile mind must recognize that everybody and everything is exactly where they are right now, and exactly where they are right now is pretty much perfect. Couldn't be any other way. This is the third quality of the Agile mind. It's comfortable with whatever is. Had a test fail? Blew a demo? Got some harsh feedback? Got a difficult boss? Tense working environment? Whatever the situation is, first we accept that it is what it is. Wishing that it were different does nothing. When we accept what it is, we can examine how the meaning that we make drives our response. Are we responding emotionally? Are we responding logically? Are we responding by hesitating, procrastinating, or overthinking? Or do we accept our circumstance and make a decision either to change it or work around it? Going back to principle 1, if you're constantly dwelling in the negative, poor me, this sucks, I hate this, wish it weren't this way, it's like having your feet planted in marshmallow. You're doing everything but moving forward. You're not taking an action towards a resolution, towards a change. And that leads me to property number 4 of an Agile mind. It doesn't seek knowledge or safety. All of the knowledge in the world isn't a substitute for action, and there will never be a time when any action is 100% safe. By seeking to understand more, waiting a little longer until we feel ready, all we're doing is wasting time and generating comfort, not by working towards a solution to our problem, but by simply thinking and avoiding sticking our necks out there. Isn't that true? How many times do we hesitate? How many times do we let something sit way too long, creating even more consequences, even more negative effects because we failed to act? Which brings me to the 5th property of an Agile mind. It learns entirely by doing. Reading is good, studying is good, training is good, but only to a certain extent. The best way to learn is to do, because all of the theory in the world isn't going to help you when it's just you and your problem and all of the fears that you've built up in your head around it. Don't be the person who's still reading about stuff long after the opportunity has passed. Now, this applies to both positive and negative consequences. When we think about a negative condition like a bad boss, the idea of confrontation can frequently keep us from moving to solve it or moving around it. But don't forget that there's an equal or even greater loss when we're presented with opportunities and we fail to act. For the same reason, because we want to be ready, we want to think, we want to wait. Well, that's not how you learn. You learn by doing and falling flat on your butt. We know and we preach that failure is essential. You can't innovate without it. You can't grow without it. Muscle doesn't grow unless you tear it. And yet, how many times do we insist that our best course of action is no action at all? To think, to meditate, to ponder, to discuss, to get consensus, to send out a Google form, to do a survey. Nothing beats action. This doesn't mean to go unprepared into situations or to be thoughtless or reckless, but it does mean that somewhere is a balance between preparation and courageous action. The goal is for us to find that balance for ourselves, and it's different in each and every situation. But if you're not constantly seeking to find that balance, you're not allowing your mind to be agile, you're not serving yourself or your teams, and you're not setting a great inspirational example for those around you. Quality number 6. The Agile mind is self-reflective and self-aware. Although pondering and continuous meditation can sometimes be a barrier to action, you do have to set aside a little bit of time each day to reflect. Reflect on your mindset, reflect on your action, reflect on your emotions, reflect on your performance, reflect on your vision and purpose. We know this is essential because it's baked into the Agile principles, and yet how often do we get our best feedback by simply looking inward? No secondary participants. We stop and we examine ourselves. When you're self-aware, when you're able to reflect on your actions, to look backward into your history and see how your beliefs, your emotions, your patterns guide your daily work, then and only then do you have an opportunity to improve. A non-agile mind is rooted and driven by the patterns, experiences, and beliefs that have been stamped upon it over the course of a lifetime of doing, failing, and learning. When we recognize what our automatic patterns are, only then do we have a shot at freeing them. This is the grown-up work, folks. But I tell you now, you can't be truly agile unless you yourself are a reflection and feedback machine. And then the final quality of an agile mind is that they're focused on their offering, whether that offering is service, your physical work, your mental work, whatever it is you do, however you serve. You're focused on the value that you bring, the happiness that you bring to others, the fulfillment of physical, emotional, and mental potential, not just for you, but for the people around you, in your family, in your community, in your teams, in your company, in your customers. Only when we practice and live these principles for ourselves can we truly radiate agility in a way that will influence other people. When we fail to do these things, if we allow ourselves too often to get stuck, to be judgmental, to be uncomfortable with things the way they are, to seek knowledge, safety, certainty, to resist action, to avoid deep and difficult, sometimes challenging self-reflection, self-awareness, and without a laser focus on your offering, the value that you bring, the fulfillment of your true potential, we're going to have a tough time making other people agile around us. Hope you enjoyed this one, folks. You can reach out, as always, on badassagile.com. You can find me on Twitter at badass_agile, on Instagram at badassagile. Don't forget to check out the Facebook Badass Agile Listener Lounge. I hope to see you there. Until next time, stay badass.